Hey, good evening. Thanks for coming out. My name is Trent Bowers. I get to work as the superintendent of Worthington Schools. This is our second meeting for Worthingway feedback. When we were here the last time, probably about a month ago now, we went through the designs of all four of our middle schools. We're just going to talk about Worthingway tonight. So since we last met, many of you gave feedback on Worthingway, and what I hope you see is that we listened to your feedback and we took your feedback into account, and we reworked some designs that I think we're excited to share with you today and kind of get some more feedback on, okay, here's what you told us last time, here's where we are. So if you weren't at our last meeting, we have partnered with Shore and Associates Architects, and Tony Shore is going to lead us off tonight, and we've partnered with Community Design Alliance and Mike Dingeldine, and Mike will be the second presenter that kind of talks through these plans. So, Tony Shore.
Thanks, Dr. Bowers. I'm just going to spend a few moments before we turn it over for the exciting part with Michael. So yes, we were here again, another cold night. I don't know why we keep picking cold nights for these community events, but we are. I think this is the second coldest night of the winter almost. So when we were together on January 30th and 31st, we did get great feedback at both of those community meetings, and we did have a lot of people fill out the forms we had, and we looked at that information. We typed all that, assimilated it, and talked to it with the district. And as Trent said, as Michael's looked at this design and worked this design, you know, a lot of what was brought up we tried to put in. Now, obviously, we got conflicting things. Some person said do this, and another person said do the opposite. So we couldn't appease both of you, whoever those were. But we did have some of that, of course, and so we've really taken that information. I think this is extremely valuable. And once I've said this before, it's great that the district wants to do this. We're going to do this at all four of the middle schools. And we're not only going to do this with you at schematic design, but we're going to do it with you at design development and construction documents. So we're going to be back a couple more times. Thank you. So the last time, if you were here, I talked about these different design phases. And I just want to briefly tell you where we are. The programming phase, when we were here the last time, we were still in the middle of that. And what that is a listing of spaces. How many classrooms, what sizes, and it's a formula type of thing where there's a form that has all these different numbers on it. So it's a program of requirements. We also did a little bit of conceptual design that you saw the last time, and that's what we've submitted. So for Worthingway, we have submitted our programming to the state, because again, we're partnering somewhat with the state on our process, and they are reviewing it currently. And while we're waiting, we have started in the next stage, which you see on there is schematic design. So in schematic design, what you're going to see tonight is more of a floor plan. It is not a conceptual plan, it is an actual floor plan, and you'll see the site plan. We're just starting to develop exterior elevations, and you'll see those at the next community meeting. But you'll start to see again, and again, and hopefully everybody picked up outside the floor plan, and on the back side is the site plan, so hopefully we'll have those documents. So briefly, from those comments that we had received, there was some constant comments quite a few times. I just want to mention a few of them. Security and safety, I think we all know, is primary number one, and that was a lot of the comments. We also got a lot of comments about sustainable design and maximizing our energy efficiency, which we will do as we design the facilities. There was comments about outdoor space. We had a fair amount of comments about making sure, and that was, again, some of this was in the ed spec, obviously, process, but that was out there too a lot about making sure we do create and continue to have outdoor spaces. And you see here, when you look at this design, we have kept the outdoor space between the building and the track. It has not been taken away. And then there was a comments about restrooms. We had a lot of comments about restrooms and gender neutral, and I think you're going to see that in the design that it's been addressed as well. So since we've had our last meeting with you, each school has a site design committee. We had met with them before we met with you the last time. We've met with them again, and even since that meeting, which was just last week, there's been renditions of the floor plan. They've been given to Nathan and the staff here. They've had comments again. There was another meeting today with Nathan, and it's amazing how much has happened in 1 week as we've taken this design and tweaked it. And so there's been some modifications to the plan, and there'll be some more even after today's comments that haven't even been reflected here, but some great comments. So the other thing that we've done too, which was a comment, and we knew we needed to do this, is we have met with the city of Worthington twice relative to bus drop-off, parent drop-off, parking on site, and you're going to see again I think a big difference to what we had before, because there was great comments from the city. We definitely needed to have those, and plus the community comments that has helped us drive our site design. So without further ado, again, please, if you have questions, raise your hand. If you got comments, raise your hand. If you don't, out there again was a sheet. It's a little different than the last time. Write down your comments. If you don't want to bring it up here, we want those before you leave. If you take them with you, get them back to Trent, which we did the last time. If you want to email those to Trent, but if you fill them out tonight, leave them, that's great. And once again, we'll take that information and try to incorporate it as we can. So I'm going to turn this over to Michael and let him present our current design.
Okay, great turnout again. Thank you all for being here. This is super helpful. So this is our second community meeting. As Tony said, we've had 2 meetings with the city. We've had 2 meetings with the staff, and I even had a follow-up meeting today with the principal just to make sure we had all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. This is schematic. So we've taken the programming document that we've worked on with the staff in their first round of meetings, and we've turned it into a floor plan. That means there are science rooms, and there are math rooms, and there are art rooms, and there are restrooms, and there are those kinds of things. And they're hopefully related to each other in ways that works. We know that the site is a limitation and it's a challenge because of the tight dimensions we have here. We're in the middle of a neighborhood. We want to honor that. We want to respect that. So we're trying to make all those things we heard, start to land. I don't think we're all the way there yet, but I think we have enough to say that this is a schematic first round. And we're hoping to get some good feedback tonight and to see where that second round goes. And then we have a whole layer of engineering to put on top of this. Where does the structure work the best? Where does the mechanical and the plumbing and the electrical work the best? And how do we make this a very energy efficient building? How do we make it a very cost effective building? Because it's easy to say, let's start from scratch, let's build a new school, but we don't have that kind of money. So we're here trying to take advantage of what assets we can leverage and replace the assets that we can't leverage. So this is the existing site. Again, we have got this one-way bus drive coming in west to east. We have Larimer kind of doing a small loop back to Geyer, back to Larimer. It tends to work because people are very practiced at it, but it's very tight, and parking spaces on the site are almost non-existent. There's 25 or 30 spaces here. So the parking lot for the school, as I said last time, is the neighborhood because it needs to flow that way. We're hoping to reduce that demand dramatically with what we're doing. So this is what we presented at the last meeting. We talked about how the building gets used. The yellows are general classrooms. The other colors are supporting spaces like administration, media center, athletics, art and music. Those are the kinds of things we're trying to rework in this school. And then our #1 objective is we have to keep this school operating and successfully operating during the time we do this project. So we had to make some decisions that have to do with the transition as well as the end product. So in our first 2 meetings with the city manager pulled all the city engineers, all the traffic engineers, all the tree board people, all of the rules and regulations. The fire marshal came in, we sat down and we talked about all those rules. They wanted to address traffic. They didn't want to get into where art rooms and music rooms are, but they definitely wanted to influence how we were going to improve the site. And the idea that came from our initial presentations was we were still going to have parent traffic here and bus traffic here to kind of keep it the way it's been. The city manager, Matt, said, what if we were to get a much longer, much more flexible, and much larger sort of parent and car drop off at the north end of the building, take advantage of that, create a new front door, because we're tending to believe we're going to lose our current front door and our current front of the building to demolition to keep the building more this direction. And so this idea has some strengths, and we're here tonight to sort of see how you react to those strengths. It allows for east and west egress. It allows for people to come in one way and go back out the same way, or come in this way and go out this way. What we like about this is it has a long, open, safe curb where we can drop kids off from cars, and we can get into a secure front door of the school. And we'll talk about the design of the school, but the new front door will be right here at the top. So the idea of a nice, long, safe queuing space for parent drop-off, and the fact that parents could come from either side of the site and get in this queue. So if you came in off Larimer, you could go on the north edge and you could spin around and drop kids off all along this curve. Buses, we like this too because putting buses in an angled stack means 2 good things. It takes much less distance to travel from the farthest bus to the door, but the buses can come in any order and always park in the same space when they pick up kids. So instead of kids coming out and saying, where along this long line is my bus, because when did it get here, Now they're going to know that the third space up is always bus 15, because they're going to be able to find that bus, and whenever that bus gets here, it's going to be able to pull in that space, and then they can peel off without backing up and go out and get out of the site quickly. So we like this from a traffic standpoint. The city likes it from a traffic standpoint. We're not changing any city curb cuts. They'll stay the same size and the same volume as they are today, but we will allow for a little more creative traffic flow this way. When we're not doing bus business at the beginning and the end of the day, we'll also be able to park about 50 more cars there for events that are here at the school. And so we're going to really impact the on-site parking. We'll have about 100 spaces up here and maybe 50 spaces more here, and that's way more than we've ever had on this site. It's not a maximum number, but it is a decent number, and I feel like we'll get a lot of people off the streets if we're able to accomplish this. So this is an assumption that the city has kind of worked out with us, and based on that assumption, we've moved forward with the building design to try to adapt to that. So we got a complete survey of the site. We know where every stone, every curb, every sidewalk, every tree, every parking lot stripe is currently with this survey. It's very detailed. And as we lay our concept over it, we know what we're going to impact. We know what we don't have to impact. Again, we aren't changing any curbs or any edge of pavement on this side of the site. We're going to expand it to accommodate some parking. That's going to happen because we're going to take some building out here that'll allow that to happen. We have 3 trees here and 6 trees here that we're going to impact with this site design. To get that many parking spaces on the site, we're going to have that. It's not something that I enjoy, or to tell you that I enjoy. And the city has already said we'll have to replace those in kind on the site in terms of our total tree count. So we'll plan on improving some of the tree cover of the site, and especially focused on replacing these 6 ash trees and these 3 maple trees. And again, not ideal, but safety and traffic flow seem to trump that as much as possible. And so we're kind of feeling like we feel okay about that. The other concept here, you can see the building that's left, is we're taking half of the classroom wing away. That allows us to do all these improvements in site space. It allows us to have room for buses on this side. It allows us to flip this around. We're looking at how to make the addition to the building compact, to make it capable of being done while school is in session. So we will build an east addition to this school, I'm sorry, a west addition to this school, while the east addition is still being used by students. And when they are done, when this is ready for them to move into, we'll move them out of this wing and we'll do the changes over here. So there'll be no point in time where there's not enough classrooms on this site for kids. We'll always be able to have a fully operating school here. The other key to this is we're filling in the north notch. We're keeping everything on the south side, we're keeping the track and all of the development down here, but we're going to make this the new front door, and you'll see how that integrates the current building and what it turns into. So this plan is helpful to look at because the orange is the existing building that we're going to renovate and reprogram, and the blue is the new addition. I would prefer to see one blue addition on a school if I were doing it. But because of the site, because of the decisions we're trying to make for safety, we've got these additions where we have to repair the edge, where we tear off half the building, we have to create the new front door, and we have to create a much larger academic wing on the building. So this is the footprint. It isn't a footprint that I would predict. It isn't a footprint that has anything to do with except where's the best place to make things happen, how to keep them in a great relationship with each other, how to make a much safer site, and how to accommodate 750 6th, 7th, and 8th graders at this school in the future. And this is going to be a 750 student school, and we have all the classrooms, all the art rooms, all the music rooms, all the gym space, all the locker room space that we need to make that happen according to the Ohio School Design Manual. So we're also very compliant with that. We're within about 1,000 square feet of perfect on this square footage. We know that our engineers are going to ask for a little more square footage for fan rooms and electrical rooms, and we're ready for that with our little bit of gap space. But this is the general layout of the school. I won't try to walk you through this because it's hard to read. You do have a site plan, which was this last sheet, and you do have a floor plan, which is this sheet. What this sheet does, it's not that much easier to read, but I'm going to go in to zoom into some of these areas. The yellow areas are the academic classrooms. We have a STEM wing where we have science and math. We have a humanities wing where we have English, social studies, language, those kinds of things. Someone asked me today, what if we want to go in the future to a team teaching method where we have a science and a math and an English and a social studies room that work together in teams? That can happen. We know that our existing science lab has a little bit of special features to them, but not that much. They're a little bigger, but not a lot bigger. If we decide to rework this school down the road, I don't think we're doing anything that's going to prevent us from teaching differently. And that's a huge goal for us, is not to knit you in terms of telling you have to use these rooms as science rooms. They'll be better equipped as science rooms, and that's what they've been for the life of this building. But any building or any classroom in a school could be a science room 10 years from now if you want. So I think that's important to understand. The concept here, which we got the staff to really buy into, and they can weigh in on that again tonight if they feel differently, is we do have a little bit of a separation in the academic wings. Like I said, a STEM wing and a humanities wing. But what we like is we got all the core spaces in the building around the existing original core space in the building. We don't have to reprogram any space around the athletics. We're going to use all that, rehab it. We're going to use all this space. We're going to create some new core space here that the building needs desperately. A larger media center, art rooms, redo music rooms, create a new vocal music room, and really important, create a really large stage off the gymnasium. And this is a 1,400 square foot stage. I'm going to say it's about 2/3 the size of this room, just the stage. And that stage will be elevated. It will allow for performances. The gym will be the house. That's not perfect, but it's pretty good in a middle school. And this gym, I think, will function pretty well because it's pretty large.
Any thoughts putting air conditioning in the gym?
All of it gets air conditioning. Great question. One of the design manual requirements is that all schools are air conditioned because we're starting to think about using them year round. So the idea that we suffered through that is over. We won't have that anymore. Good question. We did want to not put too much footprint on the site, so we are stacking a second level of classrooms here above this level in our addition. Again, as I said last meeting, the 2-story gym will be about the same height as the 2-story classroom wing, so we're not going to have a taller building. We're going to have a little bit wider building from east to west. Tony brought up the issue of family restrooms, unisex restrooms. We have targeted two new ones in new construction, but also capturing 3 new ones in old areas of construction as well. There'll be 5 places in this building where you can use a restroom that's a unisex family restroom. It'll have changing tables, it'll have a toilet and a sink. It'll be for all those reasons: a father changing a daughter's diaper, a student who wants to not use the women's or the men's or the girls' restroom, anything, a teacher who wants to have a private restroom. Those are all available, and they'll all be extra large, handicap accessible, and they'll support all of those uses. So we have those spread out in all of our middle schools. So here's our new entrance. And the big idea is this is more than a cafeteria. I love that because cafeterias don't get a lot of use other than things like we're doing tonight. This is going to be 4,200 square feet. This cafeteria is about 1,900 square feet. So imagine 2.5 times the space. And in fact, right here is this space. It's about 1/3 of what will now be the new student commons. What's different about this is it will be the front door, the entry sequence of the school. It will be a place that the traffic in the mornings and for nighttime events comes through. It'll feel like more like a student commons than a student cafeteria. Although we'll use it as that cafeteria, we'll have table layouts and furniture layouts that are going to be a lot different than just the folding bench tables that you see in current cafeterias. What's better than that, though, is when school starts, these doors electronically lock, and all visitors will be buzzed into an office and meet with a person. They won't have to wander the hallway and find the office. It's going to be a secure entrance. They even get a shot at not buzzing them in this door if they feel like it's a person who is threatening. But every person will come and visit the staff in this building directly and not be buzzed, by a vocal buzzer on the outside of the building. They'll come into the vestibule out of the rain, and then they'll be buzzed into the office, and they'll be able to come through the office. We have Office Station here because we want it to be part of the welcoming sequence of the school. We also want it to be part of the security sequence of the school. So we have principal, assistant principal, and all the support spaces for administration here, because again, the administration area of this building will be going away, and it needs to be part of this. We're going to see an expanded kitchen, and that wall there is still going to remain, but we might move some services out there, and we might carefully decide how to cut those off for after-school events. We're also expanding the kitchen to the north, and we're creating a place where tables and chairs can be stored so we can set up that space in all different ways. Yes?
What are the dashed lines or vertical lines?
These lines are probably a raised roof where there'll be some clear story daylight. So we won't be just seeing some daylight from this front wall. We'll be seeing daylight all the way here into the ramp that's on the wall behind me. So this will be areas where we'll lift the roof up and we'll let some daylight come into school.
And are those pillars in the middle?
Those are columns. Yeah, they probably have to hold up that.
Has there been a consideration of removing those and making a big mass open space for lots of different purposes?
Well, it is one open space as far as the floor is concerned. Yes, there might be some floating columns, and if we decide those are too much of an impediment, we might go to a more level ceiling. But I like the idea of getting daylight into the school, which is something this school has been needing for a long time. Yes?
On the kitchen, is that being built out in a way that can allow for zero waste, such as dishwashing instead of
Yes.
disposable trays?
Correct. And we're trying to do that from a sustainability standpoint, but we will have a big enough kitchen to accommodate those kinds of needs. And the state design manual contemplates that, so it's a really good plan. And I'd love to see that happen on every school because it's a learning opportunity, not just a saving opportunity. So it's a great idea. Yes?
The switch back to the cafeteria.
Uh-huh.
Hate to ask a question,
Yeah.
but you've got the entryway at the commons. Person can walk into the vestibule. Are we reinforcing those locked doors?
Yes, those will be locked, electronically locked. There'll be ballistic glass there. It won't stop an AR-15. It won't stop a car, but it will stop a lot of people with bad intent. If there are such things that ever happen here, we hope not. But we are thinking we're not being head in the sand. So if we move down the hallway where the current gym is, and this is where the music is, and the building sort of ends here, this is where we're going to continue that hallway, and we're going to move into a much more advanced sort of arts and tech. We'll have a new media center with lots of outside glass and light right here on the edge of the street, a new art lab, a new maker center, a new modular tech lab, improved but existing space for music. This is all going to be part of the core of the building before you move down here into the other academic wing. So a lot of traffic will be here, much wider hallways, 14, 15 feet like in front of the gym here. We're going to make sure there's good traffic flow there. And as you move, you track where I was, move down into the academic wing, now we're into mostly classrooms. But one of the things that the EdSpec process informed us is teachers want ways to break down into smaller groups. The traditional large academic classroom is not going away. We're going to have 20 of those, 14 more than the current building has, 20 new ones here. But we're going to have 9 small group rooms where kids can break out into small groups, tutors can break out into small groups, kids can be pulled out, teachers can do intervention, kids can do projects together. There are teacher prep rooms and instructional material storage rooms to get some of the clutter out of classrooms. There are group restrooms with also family restrooms. There are special education areas that have their own conference room and their own bathrooms, but they're integrated into the mainstream academic areas. And then, as I said, as we get around this bend, we're really starting to get back into a sense of music and a sense of this performing arts stage that will be off of the back of the current gym. So we will cut a new proscenium in the back wall of the gym and we'll create that new stage there. Yes?
I see stairs. Is there going to be an elevator?
There is an elevator right there. Great question. There has to be. If we have a second floor, we have to have access. So elevator, there's kind of a grand open stair that will come up with most of the traffic. And then there's a fire-rated exit stair at the other end for life safety. And again, this upper level is very similar to the lower level, producing, again, lots of those small group rooms as well as traditional classrooms. Yes?
Do we know the distance from the west to the east?
Yeah. This would have been kind of the longest travel point in the old building. So we're going about 70 to 80 more feet. It's a little bigger, a little wider than the old building, but it's not terribly much bigger. And again, I like the idea that the stairs are straight up, kind of open stair, and you're not switchbacking and coming up inside stairs. But yes, we're going to have a little further travel distance, but not much. So here's that same plan overlaid over the site plan again, just sort of looking at where we are. The idea of keeping green space and keeping the track was very much prevalent last time. Because we want classrooms that are daylight harvested, we want north and south facing classrooms. We really want to stretch this thing to the west, but we want to keep it very thin. We want to keep as much of the green space on the site as we can. So we're keeping this kind of tight to the curve at the road. And as we look at that curve, I kind of stood there for a long time with the engineers. There's this shelf kind of edge that goes from this telephone pole to this start of the bend in the curve. We're going to build everything kind of in this area. But we're not going to cover this entire footprint. That tree actually isn't even going to have to go away. If you look at where the footprint of that floor plan sort of sits on this site, we will come out a little bit past that pole, but we'll stay up on this upper level. We won't get into this lower level or this really low level down at the creek. We won't be that close to any property lines. Our closest property line encroachment will actually be to the city street. And the city's already told us we will need a variance to be within 50 feet of the street, which we already are. The current building is within that 50 feet. So we'll have to process that variance, but this would be how that looks. There's still going to be a lot of green space here in front of the school, and we're saving the maximum amount of green space we can in the back of the school. So I wanted to just sort of give you that sense of where this is going to be. We back up all the way to the site survey. So we're coming to here. We're going to keep all of this green space, and we're going to keep all of this green space. And obviously the track does not have to move, which we like because it's an investment. We're going to save about $7 million of the existing structure. We're going to save about $2 million in site development, and we're going to move that forward into a new project. So our $20 million, $22 million investment will actually feel like a $30 million investment because we're going to be able to use a lot of what's here. I think that's a plus. If we spent a lot of our money rebuilding things that we already paid for, we'd just be getting back to even, getting back to zero. And I think what I like about this scheme, it's not perfect. There's some compromises. The staff has been amazing in terms of helping us figure it out. I think it works really well, and it preserves as much of our investment here as possible.
Where's the tree on the site survey?
Right there.
Okay.
So this is going to step out, and then this is going to, the classroom elevation is going to tuck under it. It's going to be right there near the front of that door.
The sheet has it somewhat over.
Yeah, well, again, I'm using a wide-angle lens picture off of Google Earth to make that assumption. You might find me a little bit close.
So there's a
Yeah,
drop-
you're right. I'm a little closer than I thought.
But there's a drop of about 5 feet though, right?
Well, I'm really staying up in the top part. There's probably 3 or 4 feet of a drop from the corner of the building to here, but the real drop starts here, and then the heavy drop starts here. So I'm trying to stay up on what I call the top shelf of the site. But you're right, 5 or 4 or 5 feet, that's probably reasonable. So what kind of questions? Yes?
So you may address this later.
Okay.
If you are, just tell me. Hey,
No, go. This is time to address it.
So the exterior of the building is put up.
Yes.
Quite frankly, it looks like it has lived its days and it's
Right.
1960s design. What's being done to address that to make the school?
Okay, so
better than-
we're not there yet making decisions, but here's my opinion, and maybe you
Okay.
share it, maybe you don't, and I'd love to hear it. It's a low-slung building. It sits in a neighborhood with houses. When I build 2-story schools with really steep, traditional roofs on them, and you drive down the street and you see all the houses coming up to the middle of the 2nd floor, then you see this giant roof behind them. It's a little heavy duty. I would like to break open a lot more windows in the school. I would like to keep the building low slung. I would like to put larger sort of overhangs out over the roofs so that we can wall wash the windows with light. We can do some things that make the building have a new sort of color palette. We can mix up some brick colors, but I think we'll keep the building low slung with kind of what I would call slab roofs. They'll look thick, but they'll be low slope. They won't be high slope gables. I didn't feel like gables belonged here, and I think if we used them, we'd really sort of overscale the neighborhood to all these houses that are around us. So it will look, I think, yes, I think we'll look mid-century modern-ish, but it'll have some contemporary details on it. We're going to use brick, we're going to use glass and steel, we're going to use lots of curtain wall and aluminum, so it'll have nice commercial building materials on it. No wood, no plywood, no stucco, no drive it, none of that stuff. It's going to feel nice. We probably won't have to deal with the brick, but we might deal with windows, and we might definitely deal with the trim around the top and the roof.
Yeah,
We
'cause
wanna-
I think that's the other good portion of it. overall.
Right, I agree.
I mean, you look at like Worthington Estates right down the street, and I think that's the concern, that you're keeping an old building and you've got a nice new addition on. How do you run that?
Right.
There's concern.
So this is an addition. This is a rework of the whole building. So we aren't going to leave this looking exactly the way it looks and then put on a new addition here. We're going to try to make the whole building look up to something new and to some statement. This is a redo. This isn't an addition. So that's an important distinction. And we'll be back to you at the next meeting with computer renderings of the outside. And I'm as anxious to see those as you probably are, because we got to figure that out. But I think I want to stay and keep this building in modest height so we don't overwhelm the neighborhood. Yes?
I'm thinking a lot about, like, there's a lot of walkers and bikers
Mhm.
that get out of the school. And one of the things, I know you said that there were not going to be any changes from or maybe I wouldn't put the right verbiage here, but the roads, the way
Right.
you cut into the neighborhoods. But is there an opportunity to create a bike or a walking path at this southeast right now, right over there, right where you were, at
Right.
the bottom where the bus is, right now, you'll constantly get kids biking in there
Okay.
and walking in there and walking out of there, and there's no safe spot in there that they can be on a sidewalk, that they can be out of the flow of traffic.
Okay.
I don't know if
Well,
that's something.
I have a 12-foot sidewalk here to unload
have it
kids from
there,
buses,
right?
but I really probably need to take it out to the street to do what
wanna
you're
get-
saying.
Right, you want kids to be able to
Right.
not have to cross over.
Right, and I don't think that's a bad idea, is to come along the bottom edge of the parking lot, let those people get onto the sidewalk, but also let bikes and walkers get in.
And that's the right side of the street to
Right.
do it too,
Right.
because then you don't ever have anybody.
And so then you're in, you never cross traffic, then you got these walks that are gonna allow it, and the fire department is gonna make us have some kind of drivable surface around the building for fire protection that also could be integrated into some walking and some biking.
And then it seems like you took all the spaces where the bike racks are, and just put it.
We have to
Yeah.
recover those because Lee requires them. So
Okay.
we will have all new bike racks up here somewhere near the entrance.
Okay,
And probably over here as well for kids who are coming this way.
yes, they come from all sides, and
Yeah.
that's a side that I think there's just been a lot
Right.
of danger.
Lots of plaza here because of where the old building was.
Yeah.
I thought this might be a raised bed, but this would all be kind of sidewalk and places for people to hang out and wait for pickup at night and those kind of things, but also a good place for bikes.
Thank you.
Will
Good
kids
question.
only be able to enter from those two places?
These will be new doors, and kids coming off the buses in the morning would be able to come in here. The school has to figure out how they manage that, because currently they bring everybody into the cafeteria and they kind of hold them, and they release them into the building, and we're kind of putting some pressure on that sort of process. I would like to see, kids coming out of cars coming in this door, and kids coming out of buses coming in this door. And the question would be, do we make those kids come down to the cafeteria, or do we let them kind of get into their locker and get into their science classroom early? I don't know.
So the kids who live over here.
They will walk down this sidewalk
Go
and
to the
come
front.
in right there.
Okay.
This will be a door, but it won't really necessarily have a sidewalk to it, because we're not trying to encourage traffic. That's really for exiting and for safety. Yes?
So for those of us on the north side, the few of us who have homes whose backyards open
Yeah.
up to that parking lot area, we have currently a lot of people who have a tendency to speed both ways through that area.
Right.
Since that will now become a drop-off zone, will you put in speed bumps or any type of
Great idea.
deterrent to slow
I think
things
speed
down?
humps, they're a little safer than
I'm just
speed bumps.
thinking of my
Yeah.
child walking out that back door and
I
someone
know.
just
I agree with
in
you.
a real rush to get their kid to school.
The good
How is
news,
that going to work?
which is a little challenge for us, is it's pretty tight dimensionally. We're gonna have two tight lanes, so you can have a parked car at the curb, dropping your kid off, and a car can get around them and past them. This will be kind of a tight lane. It will compel people to go slower, but I think the idea of some humps is a good one, that would
I
slow
know
them
currently
down.
they can't do anything like that because the buses go
Right.
in that back lane, that's
Right.
not feasible, but.
And
if
I'm
there's
also
vehicles-
willing to put gates
The curb,
that
I
lock.
think, is the
Yeah.
more important
Yep.
spot to have those, because if, let's say, there's a sidewalk that goes along there and then a crosswalk to allow
Well,
people
there is.
from
And
Geyer.
It's separated off the street, so
Right.
I like the way the sidewalk is now, but yes, what happens to connect from here to here? I'm for gating this when it doesn't have to be open,
Right, I mean,
so that
currently there's a
certain times.
pedestrian walkway that
Yep.
connects right there,
Right
so,
there,
I
but
mean,
there's
if
a jump from
something
there to
that-
there that we have to figure out. And I'm not sure we can get rid of it, we've got to cross traffic, but we
Sure.
certainly minimize the interferences of traffic that we have today. And I'm with you, we want to make sure this is not a cut through, so I don't want to discourage that maybe with some gates or some cones, and we also want to make sure it's very slow, 10 miles an hour. Yes?
Looking at the buses pulling in, I'm wondering about student safety getting on and off the buses. If they're gonna pull forward, pull out, or?
They don't pull forward. They
Oh.
pull within 3 feet of the curb, and the door is right facing the curb. The kids get out and they step off. When the buses leave, they turn their wheels and they go. And
I thought
literally,
they were pulling into those long spaces.
they are, but they don't have to turn to get out of them. They turn their wheels and they just take a left, and they go off the thing without getting onto the sidewalk. And again, kids are in the buses and the sidewalk's clear before buses start to peel out. They arrive at whatever order they want, but it's very safe because the door is to the curbside and nobody ever backs up. In fact, I'm not sure buses are allowed to back up in a lot of jurisdictions. There's a question back there, yes.
Since we're enlarging cafeteria, will entire grade level be able to meet at once? Because currently we have half the grade level meeting at one time.
Interesting. The question was, can an entire grade level eat at once? And that has to be done because a third of your school has to eat. This will be big enough to eat half of your school. So you will be able to actually eat in 2 sessions. And if you're not eating at tables, you'll be able to get the whole student body in that room in chairs. So if you have an assembly, you can use the gym, and that's what a lot of people do, but you're gonna have a big enough space there that you can have an assembly in the cafeteria, if that makes sense, because you can get the whole student body there. But it will be big enough to feed everybody in two sessions or 3. 3 is what the standard is, but 2 is what we have here because we beefed that up. Good question. Yes?
Would there be an opportunity to fill in the one little square sort of where the glass hallway is now into like a auxiliary gym or something?
Where are we, oh, here?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of development there in the site plan, and we talked about the pros and cons of both courtyards. This one seems way more engaged in the outside activities of this building, and it seems way better from a safety standpoint to keep that there. We played around with putting the media center there, we played around with putting more space there. We have all the space we need, but it doesn't say that we couldn't take something from here and fill that in. I just felt like it was getting too much around the building. We were sealing in too much of the old building, and that was going to create a lot of construction headache, because when we build, and I like the question, when we build this is going to be our way out, our safety way out, because we're going to close this courtyard off with new construction for a period of time, a few months.
That courtyard is where the kids spend community time too.
Right,
That's where
and I would like to see it improved. I would like to see it become really, really special and become part of all this space. I'm really liking what I see back here, and it's in decent shape. It's not in perfect shape, but I think it's part of the future of this. And we've got to struggle with that at every middle school, is what do kids do outside, especially now that 6th graders are coming. They're going to want to spend time in what we call recess outside, or maybe 7th and 8th graders aren't as interested. But we've got to think about 6th graders and what they do outside on this site. Yes?
To kind of dovetail off that, I noticed that the addition off to the west, in order to put things like the stage in next to the cafeteria, it's going to cut into our existing basketball courts. Could you speak to like to how that's going to?
You're talking about the stage next to the gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that previous slide looked like it was going to come out and take out part of the basketball courts.
No, the gym is going to keep its entire footprint. We're going to break an opening in the outside wall of the gym and build to the south of it.
The outside of that.
Oh, you're right. We have to replace those in kind somewhere on the site.
Okay, so that's just,
We
we're
have to
not there
recover
yet.
that.
Okay.
And that's one of the few assets that were taken out with that addition, but you were very, very right. Very.
Because I know a lot of our kids really like
There
to
is
utilize
the
that
footprint
space.
of the basketball courts, and you're right. We're going to get into that. We're going to have to move those over or move them down. We're going to have to figure that out.
No rush.
Great point.
No rush.
Great point. Yes.
What's the build phase? What are the build phases?
I think, and again, this is more of the contractor's discussion, I think we'll build this first so that when we're done, we can move everybody from this wing into a new school. And then we can take some time to renovate these rooms and tear down this wing and finish the school. But this will probably start right away, maybe this fall, with foundations and shell. We won't disturb much on these walls. These are all fixed, and it's all space that isn't activity space. We'll be pretty good in this phase. It's going to get hairy when we get into this phase. But if we can move all these kids into here at some point, then we really have a good shot at not disturbing people while we do this phase. So I see it as 1, 2, 3 phases. And I'm not the person that's going to make that decision, but it's kind of generally what we think. Yes?
You seem to allude last time that the structure of these buildings is not all that great, and that's why you wanted to sort of tear down this old part and rebuild a whole new
Right.
section. So how do you, and so the thought of kind of keeping the front section was okay, but how about now that almost the whole building is going to be?
Well, I call them thin buildings and thick buildings, and Kilbourne's a thick building. It's different. You can stack it 3 stories. You can do all those things. When the board asked me if we could build up here, I said we can't unless we start over at the footings because it was only designed for 1 story. We're going to basically take this building and we're going to sandblast it down to structure. We're saving the structure of this building. We're saving more here because this is a heavier construction side of the building. Here we're going to, we're even going to be talking about the roof and the clearances of the roof and where ductwork goes, and we might be popping the roof up a little in places here. But what this is going to end up being is all the structure is going to be there. The walls out of block, the roof is going to be there, the floors, the structure. We're going to put all new electric, all new plumbing, all new mechanical, all new finishes. It will be as new of a building here as it will be here when we're done. And so yes, we're taking a thin building and we're using the structure, but we're only relying on it doing what it's done its entire life. If I were getting rid of this entire wing, you wouldn't have to argue with me. I'd be happy with that. We just can't do that and stay within our $22 million budget and have a place where kids can stay while we're building other places in the building. So there is no perfect answer, and you're kind of on the fence with me. I would have torn this whole wing down and built it over, but I didn't have the space for that.
What would have been the estimated cost of rebuilding the entire school and site properly compared on cost?
New school, not assuming any site cost, is about $30 million for this size.
So, I mean, had you considered that in basically building Perry first, using that as swing space for these kids, tear down the site and just...
Yeah, you mentioned another challenge, where do kids go? But yeah, assuming we had a place to take kids,
Well,
like
you
Perry,
rebuild Perry.
and then we scrape this clean, we still need $30 million here, and that would probably mean we couldn't do Perry, McCord, and you know, because we lose all that money. It's not beyond me to think that this may have been thought of as, you know, a resource that we should have started from scratch. But when I look at the site, when I look at the track, when I look at the infill, I really like what we're saving. And I like the fact that it's $7, $8, $9 million worth of value to the district, because that's all going into what we're going to do in these rooms and what we're going to do here.
Well, I agree. I think the plan that has been presented here versus first, second iteration, this is much better. I think it's much more doable.
Well, it's more a plan now and not just bubbles.
Well, especially for the neighborhood too.
Right.
I think
Good.
this is the neighborhood.
Well, I think it's still a two-story addition of that size, where the neighbors who live around to the west of the school. I mean, I still think that that's very close to.
Now, it gets to here. It doesn't get, I don't think it's going to impact these folks as much, but this person across the street, you know, it's not going to have the view of the track that they have today. But again, it's a 70-foot wide addition that's coming out, and it's staying pretty far off, you know, pretty centered, much centered here. I don't know how we could do it otherwise. If we kept it all at one story, we would definitely be covering this entire green space.
The rest of the addition to the west of the gym, it's not two-story. It's coming like all the way to the street.
It is, but it's going just to be one story. It's going to be a stepped library wall. It's going to be the media center. It's going to have nice lighting, nice views, nice windows. I don't think it'll be very intimidating at all, and it'll look so much better than this wall looks today. This is going to be big. It's going to be big volume, I know, but it is, to me, the best way to make this entire site as important as we can with bus safety, with drop-off safety, with green space, with tracks. It's all balanced.
And I agree with this comment on the fact that they realize that they're trying to save money from trying to avoid closing the school down entirely. But I think he really shortchanged the opportunity that we had of trying to keep as much in such a small, compact space and build something with much more capacity.
This is purely my opinion, but if we were going to replace the school by scraping it clean, we wouldn't build it back here. This is too hard of a site. The state might not even let us do it because it's not big enough to hold a 750 student middle school. It's an important site with a lot of assets, and I would rather see it be a school that's a little big than 18 more houses, because we would build this school somewhere else if we were going to start from scratch. It would make more sense, in my opinion.
So you could,
I'm not speaking for the district.
Put a bigger addition on some of the other sites that have more room.
This is all about balancing the enrollment in the district, where the kids are coming from, and I would hate to see an Union Street kid go to Kilbourne because we didn't have room for him at Worthingway. It just makes no sense that these folks aren't, in this neighborhood, aren't going to this school. And again, that was part of the district's promise. It has nothing to do with architects, but putting kids in a track that means they go together with their friends from elementary to middle to high school makes a lot of sense, and I've seen it happen really successfully in other districts.
And one of the things you can't lose track of is even if you did a white clean rebuild, if you did it in the exact same spot, you don't fix the parking issue. So you would still have to rebuild offset closer to
But
the west.
you still have all the site challenges, no matter what.
We're still gonna have to do something, and I think this is a good compromise to cost and aesthetic.
You said something, I just want to clarify,
Yeah.
or at least confirm that I heard and understood you correctly. You said that the two-story addition would be about the height of the existing
Yeah.
gymnasium. So So when we go outside and we look at it,
Correct.
we shouldn't expect the height to be.
Draw a line in the sky from the gym out
Just
70,
think about-
80 feet, and that's
Okay.
what you'll see.
But not the part right at the street. It
Right.
actually is
This will be
the part
one story.
pushed back.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this piece that comes out like this will be the same height as the gym coming out. Yes, sir.
When you address the west facade of that addition, when it's, the topography there shows that you're gonna have about 9 to 10 feet of exposed foundation.
Well, we'll grade around there so we're flush. We want to walk out of there on a pad. It'll go downhill pretty steeply from there because it does now. But we'll have a little bit of a flared out edge. These grades here will probably flush along the edge of the building. You won't see foundation. You'll have to have an exit there.
That's a lot of slope, so that's gonna have to happen maybe up 9 feet.
Yeah. And again, we talk about feet and then we look at photographs. It's hard to see. Again, we're not going to mess with this grade, we're going to mess with this grade. And I think the idea that it's 4 or 5 feet of drop from here to here is about right. Then it starts to get pretty steep. And you're right, we're going to have to flare this edge out to keep it flush with the grade. And then this will still continue to be steep, but not terribly steep. That doesn't feel to me like a fall off.
Michael, what's the height of that post, of that pole,
I don't know for sure, probably 24, 25 feet.
and the height of your addition is?
That's probably about right. So roughly, yeah, there's the gym, so
That's
you
the
come across.
tornado siren, right?
That's the tornado siren, yeah.
So, you've done a great job about handling the on-site traffic. That traffic flow is a big deal to the neighborhood, and kudos to you for thinking about, the circulation and the bus pull-ins and all that. You're adding, do you have a rough percentage of the amount of pavement that you're adding?
We're probably, if we have to contain the water on it, we're probably adding maybe another 1.5 acres of hard surface.
That's
that we
a
have
lot of
to-
hard surface.
Yeah.
This site was regraded and subsurface stormwater management was installed, what?
Correct. The 90s. The
2016,
track, yeah.
14?
Yeah, that's right, the track was done.
So, what's your plan for stormwater containment at this point?
The engineer, and I'm not that person, but they think that design that you were speaking of, see all these dotted lines, they're storm lines, they're retaining down here, and then they are throttled into the creek in terms of the outflow. We think we're going to still take things that direction. We know we'll have to increase the size or the depth of this retainage area, but all these storm lines are going to basically stay in place. They're not going to be under buildings, they're going to be at edges of buildings. And so that most of that will continue to work. This will have less runoff, but we'll pick up the storm drains and put them in some of that same storm system that we're working on.
Except now your roofs will be shooting water into the storm drain.
That's right. That's
So
right.
can we talk about some on-site containment? Can we talk about some permeable? Can we talk about some vegetated roofs?
I love permeable pavement. I love dry wells. I love the beds that bioswales.
Yep.
Those are all possibilities that get us leak points. I think those are all great ideas.
Yep.
I don't know the soil composition here. If it's gravelly
creek
and
bed.
sandy, that's great because that means it'll absorb water. It'll take care of the
Except for
quality.
my house is right there and it goes underneath it.
Yeah.
So,
We'll have to be thoughtful. And you're right, we'll have to increase the amount of detention and the amount of runoff because we'll have more what they call impervious surface. And so, yeah, the additional roof, the additional paving will create more rain quicker, but we're going to have more scale to control it.
Michael, speaking of the surfaces that allow rainwater to seep through, have you been over to Easton for their new gateway addition over there where they use that brick type paver? And
Yes.
Has there been provision to maybe do that in our areas where we maybe not have buses? So no buses will wreck that pretty
Too
quickly.
heavy, the bus is too heavy, but yes.
But, like,
Our
other than
plazas,
that,
our
right?
walks, those kind of things might all be that pervious block type of thing. There's a cost to it, but it works very well, and I do like it. So those are great ideas. And again, we're concerned about water quantity control, but we're also concerned about water quality. So when you run water off a parking lot, it goes with sand, it goes with salt, it goes with grime, and it goes right into a creek. What water quality control says is you have to let that water stand somewhere so that that stuff sedimentates out, and then the water that goes into the creek is clear. And you don't want to put sediment in the creek. So we have to be thinking about those pervious pavement things for not just water quantity, but they'll also do great things for water quality. And that's a good thing to do. I built a high school over a Miller Beer brewery area. They said the salt on the parking lot at the high school would be in Miller Beer in 7 days after it left the parking lot. That's how fast it would weep into the aquifer. So we put bioswales in the entire high school site, and we absorbed all that stuff before it got into the Miller Beer in 7 days.
Michael, just an observation at this point, without seeing elevations, without seeing the next step. Stepping back that 70-foot addition may be helpful to the neighborhood. The first story is a big rural box, and you're going to have another one stacked on top of it. That's a harsh transition. And you're stepping down with an elevation. If you can, to Josh's point, you've got an elevation shift in there that's going to be awkward.
So you're saying step it maybe a one-story section and step up to 2 stories and go further back?
It might play nicely with integrating into the site. If you can pull it back, you can keep a 20, 30-foot step down there. Build the mass on the second floor, pull it back to the massing of the gym. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. This is all 2-story here to the gym.
Right.
But what you're saying is maybe
But what
when you
I'm
take
saying
it
is
a
that
little
all
bit-
those yellow boxes
Yeah.
are 24 feet
If
tall.
these first 4 were 1-story, then it started 2-story here. We have to
Right.
find some more volume somewhere. Maybe it's more
Ease it
second
back
floor.
down, put a balcony on it. Vegetated roof balcony for the classrooms to step out onto. It's a west face. You're gonna get great daylighting coming in. I think you can do some nice ebb and flow kinds of things. You're gonna step it up from the east side, bring it into the heavy massing on the top, around the gym, and then dial it back around the curve. It's gonna feel rough.
No
It's
doubt
gonna
it'll
be
be
feeling
a
like
little
very
better,
aggressive.
right.
When you come down Reaver, you're gonna see this hulking building, and it's just gonna be like, I don't care how attractive mid-century cool it is, it's still gonna be massive.
Yes.
Are there any thoughts on the 2-story building, putting it half a story down? Lower the height?
That's a good question. There's some implications to grading and storm drainage, but that might help. It's not necessarily off the table. We already have a ramp in this building right behind this wall that sort of steps this building down. We could do some more ramping, maybe, and get ourselves a little bit lower. So that's not a bad idea.
How does that impact daylighting on the road?
Well, we wouldn't get below grade. But if we were, like we said, if we were 5 foot further down than this, we'd still be above grade at the end. We'd have to cut grade back a little around the sides, but it's doable. There's costs, but it's a really cool idea from a scale standpoint. Yes.
So the portion of the new addition that is 1-story, where it comes down.
All of this, yeah.
And you said that'll be a lot of glass. And
Yep.
So are you taking into consideration, in fact, we lit up at night?
Not brightly, but it'll have some light at night, some safety.
Because that's a real concern with people.
Yeah.
because
Well,
across
there
the
are
street, you have
actually,
to face that.
yeah, I know, there are actually foot candle levels at the edge of property that we have to comply with. We have to have cutoff lights in parking areas and bus lights, so the light doesn't spill over into the backyards of all these folks. So all those things are pretty much required by zoning codes and building codes.
But
So I don't
how
think
much-
we
how much
control
is
light.
lit
Yeah.
From the interior
Yes.
during the evening, if that's glass facade?
Just like your neighbors having their living room lights on in the front window.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. It
With-
kinda is.
Yeah.
With that much glass.
Yeah, I know, but it's not gonna be high lumens. It's not gonna be an intimidation. It's not gonna be a gym with mercury vapor lights on at the ceiling. It's not that kind of light.
Michael, can you touch on the top 5 points of this LEED project? I think that might help to educate. This is
What?
going through some fairly tight design considerations, and it might help if you.
So LEED is in 6 categories. The biggest category is energy. So all of our new mechanical and electrical systems and all of our lighting systems will be LED. They'll be very low energy. So we'll have very low energy costs. That stuff is big. Reusing the existing building is a lot of LEED points. Reusing existing assets, reusing the existing site, that's a lot of LEED points. Controlling water quality and water quantity are LEED points. Having bike racks, somebody talked about, those are LEED points. Having low VOC materials, which is part of the state design manual requirements. No paint, no carpet, no tile with things that off-gas, like we all grew up with. Those were great materials, by the way. They were hard, they were durable, they lasted forever, but they were dangerous. Asbestos tile, the best tile ever made, but not good for us. Yes?
To go back to the parking and where the street comes out on Reaver, right now, where right now it's one way.
Correct.
And when, as a walker that comes from that way, it's a little tricky to see around the corner, but considering that it's only one way,
You're right.
But when we're hitting two-way, with
Well-
more and more people going, it's really hard.
The decision may be to keep it one way. Because if you come in this way, you can go out that way, but you can also go out on Larimer.
Just make it go.
You
so
can,
you
there,
can't
there
go
could be an
out.
operational decision to keep it one way. What I'm saying is it's wide enough, and I think it's questionable, but the sight lines are close to making it two-way. It wouldn't
That's
have a
on
lot of
right
two-way
side
traffic.
right now.
But,
I mean,
you're right.
there's not a whole bunch of space.
I know, and you're right. And the decision ultimately would be if this wants to stay one way in because it's the way it works the best, that's a decision, operation that can be made. And you bring up a good point. The curve is an issue. We wouldn't do this, and again, on a new site, we wouldn't put an ingress, egress on a curve like that. You just wouldn't do it. Yes?
Maybe you covered this in the first 10 minutes, but, this is all in ADA.
Yes. Question about accessibility, ADA. It has to be 100%. All doorknobs have to be under 5 pounds. All bathrooms have to be accessible. All elevations have to be ramped and handrailed and elevated. It will be 100% compatible with ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. And again, that's building code requirement. That's got nothing to do with desire. Right. We have to make doors wider. We have to make handles easier. We have to make pathways fair and equal. You don't want a stage that you have to go outside and get in an elevator and come back onto the stage. You want to be able to get onto that stage from a reasonably a fair position, and we'll do all those things. Yes.
Just really quick, with all the trees that are being taken out, do you guys have any idea right now as to where you might plant new trees?
All of this is green space that's currently about half building. So I see us putting a lot of trees there. I see us putting some young trees along this new bus drop-off. I see us maybe putting some trees along here to sort of build in with the building. And perhaps there's a little green space left here, putting some of these trees that we're losing back in. I don't want to get them too close to the building, but there's a lot of opportunities. And again, we have to at least bring it back in kind to what it's got now.
What about those that are in memoriam of?
We will keep those.
Okay.
We will replant them if we have to, but we will keep those.
Okay.
Those Japanese trees in the front, we will put them in a new bed. We will put trees, whatever we have to do. That's an absolute must.
Are we keeping the kids rock?
I think we should.
They're painting rock on the
Yeah.
corner? Keep the tradition?
By all means.
Okay. Or move it somewhere else.
Yeah,
so now you
well, you'll have a
to
big
stay.
forklift. And I need help understanding what things in this building have some historical and some emotional and some cultural value, because we'll keep them all. And that goes for all 4 elements, middle school. Yes? We might have some site work and some foundation work over here this fall. You won't see anything happening inside the building until maybe next summer, the following summer.
So then I think the next school year probably won't really.
That'll be the worst year, but we'll be moving kids and we'll be making sure they're in safe areas while we're building. But that May of 21 will be 100% done. So we have 2 summers and 2 school years to work. The first year will be mostly this, the second year will be mostly this.
Do you envision some of this work, so like that first area you're describing, would be 2 short months, possibly this fall, starting this fall?
Yeah, some site work,
Okay,
some underground drainage, some foundations, those kind of things.
I think the biggest mystery for me, here's a chat around here, people asking, when do you envision these spaces being built, torn down, whatever?
So if we started this fall, I could see next Thanksgiving us having this finished, and at Christmas time, we tell kids and teachers, before you go home, your last day of school before Christmas, grab your books and your chair and move it down here. And we're going to move everybody over Christmas, probably professional movers, but I just see us getting that done. And so then after Christmas, the contractors will get into this building. They'll start renovating this section, they'll start tearing down this section. Yeah.
So there's a lot of lockers down here?
Yep.
Like where will lockers be?
All the new hallways are locker able, but I haven't heard yet that lockers are the future or the answer, but we're making this building locker capable. Yeah.
Is there any outdoor classrooms in those opportunities?
I love this space. It can continue to do that, but I think there's some opportunities. We talked about this door out here. I think there's some opportunities, here now because it's going to have a much bigger space. And I don't know the rest, but yeah, I hope so. I hope there's lots of outdoor opportunities. Yes?
I had one more question. With regards to the solar panels, that are out there, how is that going to affect?
We gotta move them. I don't know what we have to do in terms of the wiring and the cabling that gets to the, you know, the generator system, but we have to move the panels. They're in the way here, but we'll do it. We'll keep
And
them.
then, so then I'm assuming then, that us looking at energy costs and all that
Right.
other stuff, that they would then also make sure, I mean, I don't personally know even how they're using those solar panels, but to me, it seems like a great
Right.
opportunity right
Correct.
there to.
They are expensive, but they're fantastic because they create free energy. We have to, by rule with the School Facilities Commission, we have to create what we call solar-ready buildings. So we have to build all the roofs on all the schools, the old and new roofs, capable of carrying future solar panels. So if we cover the entire roof with solar panels 10 years from now, the structure had contemplated all that happening from day one. I'm not saying we're going to buy solar panels to cover the roof in this project, but we will be able to do that anytime in the future that they become reasonable and affordable.
But they are still, considering replacing it and.
We're keeping it in kind. It's too important as a learning tool and as an investment. We don't want to lose that.